Hello, I am doing my book talk on Write Like This, Teaching Real-World Writing Through Modeling and Mentor Texts by Kelly Gallagher. Could your students answer these questions? As part of the application process for the California Highway Patrol, candidates take an exam that emphasizes where to place modifiers, how to avoid vague or indefinite references, and how to avoid fragments and run-on sentences. Kelly Gallagher, author of the book Write Like This, uses the example of the California Highway Patrol to illustrate the critical role writing plays as a gatekeeping skill across the workforce. Plumbers, bankers, landscapers, teachers, janitors, mechanics all have some element of writing in the hiring or employment process. Citing a study described in the book Writing Next, Gallagher asserts that writing well is not just an option for young people, it is a necessity. Along with reading comprehension, writing skill is a predictor of academic success and a basic requirement for participation in civic life and in the global economy. Yet despite recognizing the need for future writers, more and more teachers let writing fall to the back burner, focusing instead on improving multiple-choice test scores. Gallagher insists that we must make writing a center of our teaching practice, but he also believes that most teachers are using ineffective methods to teach students to write. He says, writing well does not begin with teaching students how to write, it begins with teaching students why they should write. To achieve this goal, he believes teachers should focus on two premises. One, introduce writers to real-world discourses, including assignments with authentic audiences and purposes that demonstrate why writing is important in a post-high school world. And two, provide students with extensive teacher and real-world models. This means both using mentor texts by professional writers and modeling your own writing for the class. The idea that you should write in front of your students is one of the main premises of this book. To reluctant teachers, Gallagher insists, you are the best writer in the class, but you are not Superman or Wonder Woman. Students must see the process to understand the process. They must stand next to you and see how you do it. Gallagher also believes that teachers should model what's right, not what is wrong. He says, I think a lot of teachers spend much of their time interacting with students' writing by pointing out what is wrong with it. This is akin to the coach that simply yells at his basketball players, pass the ball better! Rather than constantly chiding our students for their mistakes, we should guide them towards strong mentor texts to use as their model. Most of the chapters in Write Like This focus on one of the real-world writing purposes that Gallagher believes we should be teaching our students. Express and reflect, which is personal writing, like personal narratives, poetry, and reflections. Inform and explain, including how-to papers, lists, how things work, history, cause and effect. Evaluate and judge, such as reviews and editorials. Inquire and explore, like inquiry-based research papers. Analyze and interpret, including literature analysis, compare-contrast, and data analysis. And last, take a stand or propose a solution, such as persuasive writing. Throughout the book, Gallagher provides examples of assignments, including the mentor text that he uses to teach his students these writing purposes. For example, to teach students to express and reflect, they studied the poem The Road Not Taken. Then he has students write a reflection on the prompt. We all have roads in our lives that we decide not to take. Looking back, do you regret not taking that road? Why or why not? In the Inform and Explain chapter, he shows his students the unofficial and unwritten rules to fighting from Sherman Alexie's The Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian. Then he has students consider the unofficial and unwritten rules of the various elements of their lives. Like these rules, a student wrote about being in band at the school where Gallagher teaches. To practice evaluating and judging, Gallagher shows his students political campaign ads from the 2008 presidential election. Once students are familiar with these 6 purposes, Gallagher suggests using them as a brainstorming tool to help students determine what they want to write. Starting with one basic topic, they can brainstorm 18 possible writing topics, 3 for each writing purpose. Despite dividing the book into these different purposes, though, Gallagher admits that there are other purposes for writing than those emphasized in this book, and in the real world, purposes for writing blend. While we should teach our students to recognize and use these purposes, we should also acknowledge that the goal is not to keep their writing confined to these recognizable boxes, but to open their eyes to all the reasons why writers write. Gallagher concludes his book with a quote from Judith Ortiz Cofer, "Language is a tool and a weapon," and this final reminder, let's teach our students how to develop and use the tools and weapons they will need to lead productive, literate lives.